ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Happy Bank Holiday Monday, but never fear, the Online Darts Live Lounge returns. Episode 201. Myself, Phil Bars, and Dan Simpson here on this lovely...
202!
202 even.
202, you've missed a week.
I tell you what, I don't know what it's like up your neck of the woods, but it's blooming lovely down here.
Do you know, it's been absolutely amazing all week. And then it got to the weekend and it's been fucking freezing all weekend. Freezing and cold and windy. It's been dry, but the whole weekend's been freezing cold and very windy. But it was beautiful for most of the week up until then. And the forecast is looking good. I'm travelling a bit this week. I'm away. But the forecast in the north especially is looking quite good.
Well, down on the Costa del South, it's glorious blue sky and sunshine.
No, it's great. I mean, in fact, it's blued up a little bit. I mean, look out the conservatory. It's a bit blued up a bit, but it's just been cold more than anything. Like, I had to close the windows last night. It was the first time in a couple of weeks that I've had to sort of like think, oh, Christ, it's chilly. But hopefully, the summer will return. It's been nice and bright for the last week or two. I've been out in the garden a lot, and I even had to buy a new hat. My new baseball cap this week, because those of us with a skull like mine, the sun is my enemy.
Oh, I'll tell you what, there is never a dull moment in darts, and the chat room, even for a bank holiday, is rammed. Dale was in, Daniel, Owen, Malachi, Chelsea, how we doing? Chris is in. Brad, how we doing? All boxed up. James, K-Days, Connor, Bill. I tell you what, it is rammed already.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
it's non-stop darts, isn't it? Like, it's properly not like we don't have. It seems to be. I don't know whether. It seems to feel like when we, a few years ago on a Monday night, sometimes we'd have to try and like stretch for something to talk about. Like, what are we talking about this week? Oh God, what do we do? Whereas it's non-stop. We're spoiled for choice, aren't we now?
Now it's like, what? Can we fit it all in?
That's the problem. Is it like we keep going into overtime?
Yeah, it is ridiculous. But I hope you guys are all good. Let's jump straight in. It was a record-breaking night in Birmingham. About the only things good that does happen in Birmingham. Luke Littler breaks the Premier League record, the first player to win 5 nights under this current guise of the Premier League. And I suppose the only thing is, it surprises it took it this long.
Yeah, and you sort of think, well, there's still another 3 weeks left. Yeah, like he's not just, well, he may not just break the record. Like, he could break the record and then kick on a little bit from it as well, because there's still certainly there's 3 opportunities and some fairly out of form dart players for him to come up against, and he could extend that even further. I thought it was well, let's be honest. I thought it lacked a bit in terms of quality. I think we've had some really, really good matches over the last few weeks, and some good Premier League nights. I think not just that we've seen good quality games, but we've also seen, that little mini tournament on the night that the folks in the venue can enjoy. I just thought it lacked a little bit this week, and thankfully we had, we've got Luke breaking the record, so it brought some news and importance and poignancy to it.
Oh yeah, look, I'm not going to lie. I watched it at home. It's the first time I've watched darts at home for a long time.
Yeah, the first time you've seen a Premier League night at home for a very long time.
It's been a very long time since I sat at home and watched it and got a completely different perspective from when you're being at the venue. Because I suppose when you came to Manchester, it was the reverse for you. You saw it from what I see, instead of from what you see, and it was a bit roles reversed. And I spent my night picking holes in it in terms of production. It was like, well, that's wrong. What have they done that for? Editorially, that doesn't make sense. I don't like that. What and so on.
You don't. I mean, yeah, and I've been able to sort of, to a degree, see how the sausage is made a little bit. I've been in that backstage press room area, and it's so busy. There's so much going on, and everyone's got so many things to do that you don't see it as an overarching production. You don't watch that start to finish. Every now and again something catches your attention. You think, oh, that was a good video, or that was a good. But it's quite difficult to to sort of consider it as one piece of television that with a start, middle, end with all these bits that join it up. There's definitely it certainly can be better. I mean, we had a good chat last week, didn't we, about what darts could do better. I've had some very good feedback through the week about the idea of a 360 camera on the stage, the old MetaQuest, Oculus.
Yeah, I 100%. I had some really nice messages as well about things that we suggested and so on. We had some really good.
Yeah, it was good fun that. But yeah, busy. I think the problem. I'll tell you why I found it a bit lackluster. If I'm honest, is that what it didn't do, and again, it's just me being petulant more than anything else. Is it didn't manifest chaos. Like the results that we could have had that would have pushed us further towards chaos, that would have probably been, a Bunting first round win, a Rob Cross first round win, a Chris Dobie first round win. One of those things, if all those things happen, then it's complete chaos. Two of them, it's a bit chaotic. Because we didn't get any of that, I mean, sort of the only real upset in the opening round was Gerwyn Price beating Luke Humphries, but that's third beating second. So in terms of making the league interesting and things going on, and I think that's why I struggled a little bit just to get some weeks, and certainly lately, I found myself like moving to the edge of my sofa and really enjoying these Thursday night Premier League nights. But yeah, it just didn't. The stars didn't align, I'm afraid, in terms of it being Birmingham and the results that were going the way that they did, and the sort of some of the quality of darts. There was bits here and there. It wasn't a crap night of darts, but some of those games some of them were bobbins.
Yeah, and look, evening, greatest showman and Muchos. I hope you are good. Welcome along, everyone. We just shared some links on social media as well. So if you see them, give them a like and a retweet or a share, whatever platform you are on. Yeah, look, it was weird. Look, you could tell that a few of the players had gone away on holiday and not picked up a dart for a week. That was very evident. At times there was some ring rust and so on. And look, that happens during the Premier League, that they go away and so on. But look, I agree that apart from the fans in the venue that are seeing it for the first time, I think the neutral and the fan watching at home genuinely has face planted the wall now.
Yeah, it's difficult for me to detach myself a bit because you have to remember that not everybody consumes darts in the way that you do. I do. Everybody feels different. We are clearly, we are clearly very, very. We're not the casual fan. Let's put it that way. And we will consume any sort of darts in different fashions, if only just to take the piss out of it. But yeah, I can start to see. So I've noticed in a the sort of the WhatsApp groups that I'm in, which is where you should all send the link to this show, by the way, because your friends will like it as well. But whereas normally on a Premier League night, I'd be like dropping bits in the WhatsApp. That was did you see? How did he miss 4 at that? How did he whatever? And what I've found is like just in recent weeks, just not as many people are actually watching. Whereas in that early stage, people are replying and saying like, "Oh yeah, that was close, wasn't it?" Now it's like, "Oh, I've got the cricket on, I've got the snooker on, or I'm watching whatever strange Quidditch sport Jarlath watches sometimes."
Quidditch is a proper sport, unlike that hurling.
Nonsense.
Joking to all our Irish fans, we enjoy winding Jar up. How are we doing, Kev? Yeah, look, it was, like I say, the way this is going and the way that the fixtures play out, it now looks as if we are going to get MVG against Nathan Aspinall 2 weeks in a row at Aberdeen and then in Sheffield. And that's going to be arguably the 2 games that decide who joins Luke and Gezi at the moment.
Well, we're clinging to that, really, aren't we? Because like the last couple of weeks, we got like night 11 over in Rotterdam. We got the chaos. We got the bottom 2 running to the end, and everything got tighter. And then we sort of fantasized about the running that we could have. And it only took a few rogue results in there that we could have, that it would really mix things up and change things around. And just those next couple of weeks after Rotterdam, night 12, night 13, in Liverpool and Birmingham, we haven't had those little key results here and there that would have made that just a bit more interesting than a straight shootout for 4th place, which looks like that's going to be the intrigue going into the last 3 weeks. Unless, I don't know. I don't know what the unless is probably here. Rob Cross winning a night makes it interesting, but realistically, it's got to be this. It's got to be the next night. If Rob Cross doesn't win in Leeds, I think it's fairly certain that it's 4 of 5.
Yeah, I think so. It's look, there's a couple of comments that we'll talk about some of the bits in there in a minute. But look, let's stay with this. I didn't set this up properly, so let me just. Oh no, that has worked. So I can put that up now. Let me share my screen from the other one, and we can actually get the Premier League up, I think, which will be good.
This will be impressive. If this works first time.
It's not going to work because it's... Oh, it might do.
What did we say the other week? Just a few clicks away from perfect. That's us, isn't it? Hey, I tell you what, not even a few clicks today. Not even a few clicks.
I just need to refresh it. So
just refresh that. Tighten it up a little bit.
It was still set up from last week.
Click hide on your contents. You'll get a bit more. Right next to where it says Utility Arena, there's a little hide button next to the word contents, top left. Hit that. And then you get rid of that out your way. Get rid of that mess as well.
There we go.
Good stuff.
So yeah, look, there are the results, and look, Bunting, he'll be disappointed because he was in a really good position. Look, I get Littler press the afterburners, but also we've got a lot of dart swapping from Luke at the moment. We saw him start with the World Championship new darts. They didn't last till the end. At the moment, he's chopping and changing a lot when he doesn't need to. Just throw the gem ones. They're the ones that work.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because to many of us who see him as a just the very peak at the minute of what this sport can be and what people can do in it, he clearly thinks there's more there. He must think there's more. Like, he must think that there's more there. And then it's also very difficult for me to sit here and criticise the decisions he makes on equipment when he wins. Like when he's top of the table and he's won that, and however he's chopped and changed through the night or the weeks, he's averaged 102.5 in the final, and he's bashing everybody up. So I think it's just too. The problem is he makes fools of people that call out things that he either shouldn't be doing. He's done it for the entire time that he's been in I suppose the consciousness of the wider consciousness of darts. Every time somebody says, "Well, he shouldn't be doing this. He shouldn't be on that live stream. He shouldn't be playing his PlayStation. He shouldn't be doing this, and he should be practicing more." No, he makes fools of everybody that wants to lay some criticism his way. So I'd rather not be made a fool of. I'll just concede saying he can do what the fuck he wants.
Good evening, Rob. Good to have you in, buddy. Good evening, Scott, as well. All new to the chat room. If you are just joining us, come and say hi. Look, it's interesting, but look, Michael has not played particularly well but he's got to the final, which is huge for him because going into the night, there was a lot of pressure on him because he was outside the top four and so on. And Aspinall played before him, won his game. So going into that last game, there was pressure on Michael. And look, he's not played well, but found a way to pick up 3 points, which is huge.
It is, considering like he hasn't played well at all, and on other weeks he gets beat in both those. You know, that quarterfinal and the semi-final game. In other weeks he gets beat in those. But I think we seem to have said this a lot when he goes on a run to the final this year. This year seems to have continually been, you know, Michael Van Gerwen hasn't played very well, but he's got to the semi-final again. Like, it's, you know, it seems to be like most weeks he hasn't played very well, but he won his opening game again. Or he hasn't played very well, but he might have managed to get to the final. He hasn't played very well though, and it's a talent to be able to keep getting, you know, to get to where he is in the league, to still be there, but not be playing well. Again, if he finds something and he can find some form, he'd be dangerous, because I think everybody else is so up and down as well, that everyone's there to be got at. Any of these players now, even now, I think if you just find something, you'll piss this, because they're all not quite at it. Luke isn't playing his best darts at the moment.
No, I agree. I don't think any of them are at their optimum best.
None of them are.
We see glimpses from them all, but I don't think anyone is really laying down a marker right now and saying, I want this. And I agree. How are we doing, Joel? And so if I scroll down here.
Little look at the league table. There we go.
Oh, stop it, everyone.
Luke Littler's qualified now, has he?
Yeah, to be fair, no one's ever not made it on 26 points. So the top two dusted. Let's be fair. You're not catching Littler. Littler will top the group.
Yeah, he's done that. They're taking a bonus as well, I think, for that. And there's a few.
No, they don't do it anymore. Since they've gone to this format, they got rid of the bonus.
Of course, because weekly winners are getting 10 grand, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but look.
Well, he's done all right out of them so far, man, hasn't
he? Yeah, he's done it right. It's 50 bags just for winning nights.
50 grand up for pottering around, chucking some darts in big arenas.
Yeah. But look, all eyes, I think, are on that fourth spot. That because of the way the fixtures have manifested themselves, I think that's the chaos bit. Especially the way that Leeds looks. That we'll come back to Leeds shortly, but just whilst we're on the table, there's a good chance that Littler will beat Aspinall, and there's a good chance that Humphreys will beat Van Gerwen. So if they both lose, then it goes into those last two nights where they probably play each other.
Yeah, and like, I think it's a funny one as well, because they've both struggled with form, action, various other things, mindset, whatever you want to call it. Like, they both haven't been at their best for large chunks, not just of this Premier League, but, you know, large chunks of the last 18 months, the pair of them. And it is highly beneficial and very lucky for the PDC in terms of this year's Premier League that they've both been as stubborn and as scrappy as they have to pick up as many points. Because if one of them was a bit less scrappy and a bit less stubborn in this Premier League campaign, then I think we'd have already had a very comfortable 4-4 separation. Like, it
4-4 separation, and the last month it's absolutely boring. It's just
100%. I think it's just they've got away quite lucky that both of them have been able to really dig in and fight when they are far from their best form. You know, they've both managed to do perform. I mean, Michael's not managed to win a night, has he? But Nathan, I think has.
It was either Birmingham or Liverpool last year was the last time he won. But we are going to play.
We've only got two players now, haven't we? Is there only two players that haven't won one this year?
Yeah, Cross and MVG.
MVG.
Right, so we're gonna play a clip from Luke.
Yeah, obviously it feels amazing, but just setting records in the Premier League, right? It's only my second year, but yeah, it's also a good thing to be clear at the top of the table, and heading to the O2. Just make sure you top and get that first semi-final in. Yeah, I think for myself, once you get so many wins over somebody, I think you beat him near enough every time. Obviously, you give me a really good game then, but I've beat him once again.
Look, you can't deny. I know Luke got a fair bit of stick for this interview, and people are commenting in the chat room as well. Where was it? Let's scroll back up. Brad said, he's just the Star Wars one. We'll come on to that in a minute as well. But look, I quite like that rawness and that honesty where he's like, look, I'm beating him.
This is the problem. You can't have it always. Like, do you know, like you can't have somebody who is like you want a generational talent. You want somebody to come and change the game. You have to allow them to have some personality as well. You have to allow them to put themselves. This is, let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, the current and reigning BBC Young Sports Personality of the Year. You know, like personality is what. Surely this is what we want coming to darts. Is more people who can, regardless of whether you agree or disagree with what they're saying, you're all watching it and you're all listening to it and everyone's commenting on it. And that's good for darts because people are getting engaged with it. Like there is a narrative, I think, where certain people have in recent years decided to lean into certain personas and certain, you know, let's say, you know, their own personality, but maybe just turned up a little bit. Maybe, you know, just turned up slightly. I'm sure them turned up to 11, I think. And there are people that are leaning into that because they know that it does better for their careers. It does better for the sport in general because they're not saying anything particularly controversial or offensive or upsetting. Like they are saying people that they're essentially just going fishing for a little bit of a bite. And I mean, well, I don't know whether it's unfortunate, maybe it's fun, but there are no shortage of fish in the pond at the minute for people that want to go fishing for a bite. It's coming to them pretty quickly, and he's always going to be. There's an awful lot of blokes on this tour who will see. They won't say it out loud. Some of them will. They will see in the last couple of years, like, or they'll consider money taken out of their pockets by this kid who's come from absolutely nowhere, hasn't served his time, hasn't done this, hasn't done that. But he's just come and he's took money off everybody, out of everyone's pocket, took food off everyone's table, and they can't beat him, and he keeps winning, and it's going to piss people off. Of course it is, because you have to remember this is their living. Like we hear from, I'm sure we will, you know, senior members within the organisation who talk about that you have to go and earn your money, and there's not money.
Don't worry, I've got a clip lined up about this. Don't worry.
That's why I wasn't going too deep into it just yet, but you know. So then that's how it is, isn't it? He's clearly aligned with the organisation's view that, like, you know, come and beat me, come and take it. I think it's great, but I also think it's piss funny that it's clearly triggering some people.
Yeah, look, it's hilarious. Evening, Fraser, how we doing? God will probably be refereeing at some point this week, Red Viking. And look, the bit about the Star Wars interview, I think it was on Talk Sport I saw today, that people have got to understand the way content works, that organisations, not so much us because we are darts orientated, but other outlets go there to get content for other events like May the 4th, Star Wars Day. All the bookies did, BetMGM did it, and Ladbrokes did it at the UK Open, did a load of horse racing stuff for Cheltenham and so on with them and so on. So look, it's just that it's being topical about big events. That's how it all works. Michael is in, so I don't think you can argue with him. No, I agree. I think it's good. I like having the feature about putting things over the top. it's good. It was the BBC. I knew it was one of them. So yeah, it was good. But
then again, like this is, it's like you can't have it always, can you? Because there was a few years, in the dark days of darts, like darts people would have killed for some mainstream coverage. Like, can you imagine that, the mainstream media, the big media outlets, the BBC Newses and the Talk Sports and all the biggest sports reporting organisations in the country wanting to engage in topical content with your young player or world champion or whatever, in the dark days, people would have walked over a broken leg off of that. You can't, so then, like, you've got to take it where it comes, haven't you?
Yeah, look, 100%. And look, before we move on, what are you marking his penalty out of 10 on Saturday morning?
Oh, I see. It's difficult for me because when you watch, as a Newcastle fan, like you grew up watching Alan Shearer take penalties, and at the minute we've got Isaac Bang. I mean, we had 3 the other day. We just only were allowed to take 1. I'd give him a. Where do I go with it? He's midway. We'll go 5.
I like to give the keeper the eyes and just roll it in the opposite corner. I like it. Darren says, would the world have gone to $1 million if Littler hadn't have come along? Yes, it would have. Would it have been this quick? Probably not. In terms of negotiations, when deals were coming to an end, it was the most perfect timing for Barry and the PDC, because all of a sudden you've got this wonder kid that has put the sport into another stratosphere. So if Sky had been negotiating the deal without Littler, would the money have gone up? 100%. Probably not as quick as what it has, but it would have got there. But yeah, for everyone negotiating new deals with the PDC, it has come at the worst time. And especially now he is 18, he can have the bookies thing on their shirt. Like when he was 17, they couldn't. Yeah. Now he's 18, it can go on his shirt and so on. So look, for everyone, it was the worst time. For Barry and darts players, it was the best time.
Yeah, because they were selling a product that was actually, in terms of, whilst to the viewer, the product might not look a great deal different. To the advertiser and the sponsor, the product bears little resemblance to the product of 4 or 5 years ago. Like it's very, very different in terms of the product that they're selling now. The way that darts currently transfers into the mainstream, as well as all the different ways in which people can receive various different types of content and promotions, and the way that people are taking up the sport. If you look at pre-lockdown, it's a very, very different game altogether for sponsors and partners and that sort of thing.
You've only got to see the demographic as well, physically see it with your eyes on the Euro Tour, and the kids that are there now watching darts is absolutely mental. And look, Great Showman sums it up here. The equivalent of Tiger Woods, for example, he's bought new eyes and gained sponsors 100%.
And it's not. And what I would say is, like, I credit Luke. We talked about it a lot the other week when we were all in the studio together. Like, with that boom and that, he has to take more credit than virtually anybody else in terms of pushing it forward and running with it. but I think a lot of the way I'd phrase it is like people come for Luke and they stay for everything else. Like there's a lot, the people who I know that have recently come to darts, they started watching it because Luke Littler was in it. And they heard about this kid and it's getting on social media and he's on the telly. And like I think that where I really noticed that loads of people were watching it was when he played Barney in the World Championships. Anna and I were in a sports bar in Southport, and my phone seemed to just people sending messages and get like chatting about it. I've never seen a darts match before in their lives. But then what happens is people come for that, but then lots of other cool things happen, and darts is an entertaining sport, and when it's presented right, it's a bloody good watch. And I think that there's so much going on, and there's so many good players, and there is so much entertainment and different and varying events and things like that people sometimes you just need to hold the door open for someone and them to come in and see what's there. Well, for a lot of years, I think people just wouldn't have thought. Anna, in a million years, wouldn't have just she would never have turned darts on. Why would she have? Why would somebody just think, oh, I'll watch darts for the first time? That's not the reputation he had. Very, very different now.
Right, we obviously aired the interview with Matt on Tuesday, as promised. I'm going to play this clip. It's about 1 minute and 45 seconds because there is a lot to discuss from this.
Look, if players are entitled to their opinion, and sports people generally, are going to have things they're happy about and things they're not happy about. And I've seen that in my own career in half a dozen sports, and maybe it keeps us on our toes a bit. If everybody was happy, maybe it'd be too easy. I don't know. Look, no one's come to us and said you've got this wrong. This is a disaster. And I think it'd be quite quickly shouted down by their contemporaries if it was, because the vast majority of players surely must see this as a positive. I mean, what have players said to you? You speak to them.
Some of them, most of them are happy with it. Again, the old thing of nothing for Pro Tour losers has come up an awful lot. And I put an interview out with Barney this morning, and he was saying his exact words were, did it need to go from 1,000 to 1,250? That 250 could have been distributed, but he's not the only one as well to say that.
I mean, but that attitude is basically saying to players to, I don't know. Look, it's just not fundamentally something that we agree with, and ultimately that is our position on first round loser money in Players' Championship events. That is why we provide so many tournaments for players, and why we reward players so well for progressing in those other tournaments. Look, if we did 10 events a year, I would get it. If I was a dart player and I sat there and I thought, blimey, if I'm unlucky or I hit a bit of bad form or whatever and I lose 7 of my first round matches in 10 tournaments throughout the year, I can't make a living. But we're giving you 34 Players' Championship events. We're giving you 14 European Tour events. And we're giving you the World Championship, the Grand Slam, the World Series finals, the World Masters, 4 other tournaments where you have got dedicated qualifiers.
Now, a lot of people won't like it. I get that. But one thing I will say, I appreciate his honesty, because he could have said the political answer, okay, yeah, we get they're not happy, we're looking at it. He's not having it. It's like, nope, we don't agree with it. It's not happening.
Well, that's the thing. The thing I took from it when I first got to watch that interview was, and it was funny. But my first thought was, wow, we don't have to talk about that all the time anymore, because it very much sounded like this is a closed topic. This is a closed topic of conversation. This doesn't mean that we should be having a conversation about it like beginning of next season, beginning of the year. Like it's not up for debate. I think he was pretty clear in, fundamentally this is not how we view our tour. This is not how they view the game working. And I think that tells me that they would need to go on a very long journey of discovery to realign that thinking and to change it. So I just think, I tell you what I do think is good about it, if I'm really honest, because I don't agree with it. It's not how I think it should work, but opinions are like assholes, aren't they? It's not what I would do, but it's the way they're going to do it. What it does do, I think, for the next few years, makes it very, very clear to anybody that wants to come and play professional darts in the PDC that is the situation. It ain't going to change overnight. It's not going to change next year. It's not like, if you cling on for another year or if you get your tour card this year, might be someone losing money next year. It ain't happening. It's not going to change. There's never been a better time to not have a tour card. Bear this all in mind when you go to Q school, because that's how it is. And I respect the fact that he said it as blunt and as firm. It wasn't the politics answer, because it doesn't then leave people thinking, oh, maybe. It is, I just say it's not my preference. Would I like to see it work slightly different? Yeah, of course I would.
No, I'm with you. I don't agree with it. And I think they should. I've made that clear, as a lot of people have done. However, like you say, it's not up for debate. It's not going to happen. It's not going to change. That was quite clear from that they're not going to follow the snooker model. They are comfortable with it and are not going to change. So
some people, I don't like. Some people will say that's absolutely fine. Like I appreciate it. I come from a you and I have a very different setup. Like you know, you are an entrepreneur. I'll give you that. Right? Perhaps you go with that. You lean into that a little bit. Self-employed, maybe.
yes, I'll take self-employed.
See, you know, I work for the government. I have a government pension. The idea. You know, the idea in terms of you know, the financial way of earning money through work, not having a guaranteed downside would horrify me. It'd keep me awake at night. Not everybody's wired up in the same way as me. You know, I think a lot about my pension. A lot of people don't have one. They don't care about one. They're not asked. They've got another plan. So I get to most people, it's probably fine. There are also other ways to earn income, you know, that aren't just prize money. You can earn within darts without just winning it. See plenty of people doing it. Ideally not on fucking YouTube, though, because it stops people watching us.
Yeah, 100%. But look, it's after the money was announced, we asked the question, and there was mind you, he did like our little mythical committee, didn't he? He was taken back by that. Who's on our committee?
Yeah, who's that? Who is it?
Yeah, I did say to him, I said, you can join our WhatsApp chat if you like. You might not like it, but you can join.
He's welcome. Yeah, he's welcome in there. He's welcome to come in. I mean, there's some rogue characters in there anyway. So, yeah, it's he's invited.
Yeah. So look, I liked that. Also, confirmed no changes for the slam. We'll play this bit.
Asking me or telling me?
I'm asking you.
Okay,
By that prize money, I'm guessing that's
Right.
what it's going to go to.
Okay.
Are we going to see changes this year, or is it going to be the same format this year?
We're not going to see changes this year. We had looked at making changes this year. We decided that, referring back to what you mentioned earlier, it wouldn't be right to bring that in midway through the qualification phase for a tournament that is essentially going to be staying the same for one more year, for the sake of one more year.
Yeah.
Before we can make this the change to go up to 48 players. It wasn't something that we deemed important enough to shoehorn in a messy way. So we'll leave it as it is for 2025.
I don't dislike that either. Look, we can see it's going to change next year. Changing it one year, then changing it again doesn't make any sense. So, like you think, I don't mind that.
Yeah, it's logic, innit? He's pretty right in what he says. You know, you don't want to do something, then have to unpick it, and then certainly changing things. Because we see plenty of people criticising virtually every time the PDC do something, and I genuinely think often we see almost a 50-50 split. The PDC will make a decision or an announcement, and we'll see half of our viewers, followers, whatever they want to term, friends of the show, half of them will be like, this is a complete outrage, this is disgusting, they're a total disgrace. And then the other half will say, I love this is great. We often have the exact same division between our little team as well.
100%.
It's fairly divisive. But I think that every now and again you get a decision like that where virtually everyone just nods their head and goes, "Man, fair enough." Yeah, you can't introduce, because can you imagine if they'd have changed it midway through the qualification process, the stick they would have got at that point? Because at the end of that there would have been some players that would have fallen victim to them being changed halfway through, and all of a sudden it's just not worth having the conversation, is it? You're better off just cracking on. Yeah,
correct. All right, we're going to play the last one on the money side of it as well before we move on.
No one's contacted us on that front. I'm sure some players have got their opinions, but we feel that the prize money has been distributed accurately based on the standing of tournaments, the status of players, and where we want the sport to go to. Just look at where it all was 10 years ago. Look at where it even was, 5 years ago, pre-COVID. The money that's now being made available to dart players is quite rewarding, I think.
And maybe the players forgetting where they've come from with this big boom, and maybe getting a little bit above their station because of this boom.
I don't know. I'm not going to say that and give you a headline because of that. You know.
I tried.
Nice try, TV.
I tried. Look, I'm going to say I don't agree with him on that. Look, I think the money could be distributed better. That I get they want this flagship £1 million. I understand it, but I don't think the other tournaments have increased enough. Things like the match play and so on. So look, I think the distribution could be split evenly, in my opinion. Yes, they've gone very, very top heavy. So I'd like to see, I would have liked to have seen it split a little bit differently and so on.
I think my view on that is it's not actually just about the prestige of the other tournaments. It's more just the maths, because it throws the maths fucking way off, like in terms of having so much in terms of ranking points off one event. It just sort of spoils that, the world number one ranking. It can't really, you can't have a top end ranking system anymore. It's just whoever's the reigning champion is number one. That's just how it works. It just takes that away.
Yeah. Look, it's so everything's fine because of money. Look, essentially, Big Johnny, yes, because like we've said many a time, the PDC aren't the governing body; they're a promotional company, and their aim is to provide opportunities. Do they do that? Yes, and profit. Their profit line, is that good? Tick yes. So they tick their boxes. And this is the bit that we've said many a time. We'll always let darts down because there is no governance. It's being run by a promotional company.
Yeah, and this is what. But I think again, people get a bit naive about it because they think, oh well, the answer is the answer is to then just have a governing body and that'll solve everything. Well, if that's your view, go and do. I tell you what, if your view is a governing body will solve everything and make it fair, Google the words FIFA controversy, right? And then again, tell yourself that all you need is a governing body and everything will be fair. Nothing will be done for profit. Everything will be done with the highest of sporting integrity. Like sometimes, genuinely, you are better off having a structured business organization. Because, like, how often do we see so you look at FIFA and you look at governing bodies, right? The wrong people ascend to the top of governing bodies always for the wrong reasons. It happens right across the board. You get every now and again you get a particularly talented person. You get a Seb Core, you get somebody, but predominantly the world is full of incompetent people on governing bodies. That doesn't tend to happen. Like in like big commercial successful businesses, because it's a meritocracy, and if you fail, you get sacked. Like people haven't got the tolerance for it. Like you're not there. Like I guarantee you, Matt Porter isn't in that job because he's mates with somebody. He's there because he delivers, and if he stops delivering, like the tough conversations would have to be had. And sometimes governing bodies aren't the answer, because a lot of them are not very good and they don't function very well.
Yeah, look, 100% is the thing. And look, it's. I get as fans and hardcore fans that we are, and we see the same in boxing, where the hardcore boxing fans want it to be pure and so on, but pure doesn't make good business sense.
But and then how do people do that? Like boxing's a nightmare. Like for years and years and years, we had world champion boxers who were working full-time jobs. Years and years, we had world champion boxers working full-time jobs. Like lads that were like getting out, going running on a morning, doing the bins and training all afternoon, because the money wasn't making it to the players. These days, the money in boxing is making it to competitors in the sport at the high levels. It's still shit at the bottom end. Like boxing's still shite at the bottom end. Like if you haven't been to the Olympics and you are just a journeyman boxer trying to get up, like you ain't getting paid fuck all until you've done something. You get it, like you are, essentially a Pro Tour first round loser. Like by the time you've paid your cornermen and you've paid your different fees and you've paid your fee to the authority and everything else that you've got to do, and you took time off work to do your training camp and all of that, like it's in a better place than it ever was before. We say the same about darts. Is it perfect? No. Is it perfect for everybody? No. Is everybody managing to be rich off it? No. Are the very best people? Yep. If you're very, very good at it, you'll do very, very well at it. The same with boxing. Like, it's the same with golf. It's the same with loads of stuff, isn't it? If you are the best in the world, you'll do all right. If you're a bit shit, probably won't earn very much from it. And you can apply that to virtually every job there is. If you're good at it, you'll do all right.
100%. Daniel, they will never increase the world match play. You couldn't do it. The tournament would take too long. The match play is one of those tournaments. It's the purest of pure from when the PDC started. Never, ever change it. Now, there's been a lot of talk around what was released, or not released, but it was an interview with Barry. I think it was from Sheffield, where he talks about Matchroom taking over production of all the events other than Sky events. And this has got people worried that it's coming off ITV. Now, my understanding of it is darts will still be on ITV on free to air, but it will just be produced by Matchroom Sport. More importantly, Keytown, who do the European tour. That's my understanding, that it won't come off ITV. It just won't be ITV produced, meaning that the current setup of the ITV, how it looks, how it sounds, how it feels, after Minehead this year, could look a bit different.
Yeah, right across the board. Even just, the logos you see, the sponsors that you see, various other different bits and pieces, the people holding microphones, maybe different people. They may be the same people, but doing slightly different jobs. Might be people holding things completely different. But
I might be wrong, but that's my understanding, is that it will stay on ITV, but it will just be Matchroom produced. A bit like the World Series events, for instance, they're on ITV4, but they're Matchroom produced.
I don't think anyone's
on a bigger scale for the UK Open, the European Championships, the Players Championships.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's really gonna be too upset. The casual viewer won't notice. The casual viewer will not notice. They'll just think, "Oh, it's darts on ITV. Oh, this is good. Yeah, it's Luke Little playing."
And again, Matt, Barry, and Eddie are not stupid enough to realise the importance of having darts on free-to-air TV. They are three incredible businessmen that will understand, look, yes, we've got this huge contract from Sky, but there is also an importance that darts is on free-to-air, so we get coverage all year round and everyone gets to see darts.
It's very important because they have different, the tradition that you need a gateway sometimes. You need people to be able to watch it. Now, yes, lots of people do have Sky Sports. People do, especially if they have a loose interest in sports anyway. But I passionately think you need to maintain, if you had one tournament a year and called it the free-to-air tournament, I just think you need with your product to provide something, some gateway that allows people who haven't, because nobody's gonna subscribe to some Sky Sports for a sport they've never watched before. Like you need some form of gateway to get people interested, get intrigued, and I assume that what they can then do, I think, because I don't think we've talked about this, they don't do it enough. For reasons I don't understand, that will allow them to sort of push PDC TV subscriptions, because maybe it's an ITV and a Sky thing that they won't promote other, platforms that people can view things on, but it would maybe give them an opportunity to promote PDC TV and talk about Pro Tours and Euro Tours and then increase the general following and viewing of of darts. I think you'll probably find the subscriber numbers to PDC TV go up every time they produce an event on free TV.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see. But that's my understanding and take on it. Right, let's go to the European Tour. And I'm just going to say, Gary Anderson does it yet again. And by the way, I called it on Friday. On the stream, people asked me, I said Gary wins.
In fairness, you picking Gary to win anything, like it's not like, again, sky is blue, grass is green, etc. Phil Bowers has predicted Gary Anderson to win. Like, a broken clock's right twice a day, isn't it?
Yeah. But look, where do we start with the man? Because he's skipped tournaments again this year, and at times it was just sublime. The Saturday performance against Jan van Veen is up there as one of the games of the year. Gary was averaging 110, losing 5-3, went 14-11-14 to win it. I think he's at 9 maximums in 11 legs or something. It was just ridiculous.
He maintains the ability to produce darts of the very, very highest caliber completely without warning. And that is why I still think that he is the most dangerous darts player in the world. In terms of, if you go on stage with Luke Littler or Luke Humphreys and they average 104, you're not going to be sitting there saying, where the fuck did that come from? Like, you know what you're going up against. Like, but Gary can do it from absolutely nowhere. Like, and he can skip 3 events, turn up and play absolute shite, then turn up and relentlessly average 108. Like, it's just a talent that very, very few people have ever had. And he just retains it. He still has that ability all the time to be able to just, like, turn it on.
It's mad when you think about it. And before we dive into the actual European Tour itself, we'll talk on Gary. That I said last week, he was in a precarious position on the match play race, and people were like, he's going there. And I was like, yeah, he is. But he was floating between that 15th and 16th spot, meaning he'd likely run into Luke in round 2.
Yeah, I know, he's pissed it, hasn't he?
Now, all of a sudden, he's up to 12. He's got some wiggle room. And now let's be fair, he's another Euro Tour win away from 8 or 9. So in terms of that, and for us as fans, because let's be fair, we don't want to see Gary against Luke or Luke in round 2 at the match play. Quarterfinals or something, I can take that, but we don't want it round 2. So he's done us all a favour there and shifted himself up on that side of it. And not just that, he's climbing those world rankings again, up to 14th, which doesn't mean a lot at the moment. But I go to that tour card race because now I think he's in just about everything apart from the Grand Slam at the moment, because he's not there as of yet. He's back up to provisional world number 8. And this is where it gets interesting. He is a tournament win or a final, shall we say, of a regular tournament, but he's also a semi-final at the Worlds potentially, away from being back in that top 4. Now, Gary Anderson in that top 4 causes the PDC all kinds of problems.
It certainly does. And I was just looking at where the money that he's carrying and how it's laid out and where it's... And it's like, it's interesting because he's almost on a he's perfectly balanced. So is the sum total, obviously he's carrying this year, 2024, and the last 8 months of 2023 on his ranking at the minute. 2024 accounts for 51% of his ranking, which means that between 2023 and this year, he's got like 50%. So he is currently sat like perfectly on track. So he's not, I think the perception of Gary sometimes is that people think he's on the slide. But when you look and you think, well, no, 50% of his rankings last year, he's not declining. He's got 50% of your ranking money is in the last scoring year. You're not on the way down. But
you look, we're only in May and he's earned over 80 grand and we've only had 2 TV tournaments, so to speak.
Yeah, he's 20%.
He only earned 148 and a half in the whole of 2023. Now, with the increased money coming at the World Championships, the match play, the World Grand Prix, the Grand Slam, the European Championships, the Players' Championships, all of a sudden, we could be talking about Gary back in that top 4. And if that happens, or if he goes on and wins a TV event, which he's more than capable of, he causes the PDC some nightmares.
Yeah, and he's, some of that stuff in there that he's carrying from 2023 as well. There's some, when you look at what the tournaments are, you think, oh, actually, like, he can move it. He's only defending 15 grand at the match play, which for Gary, like, you think, well, he's good. He'd do that. He's only defending 15 grand at the Grand Prix. He's defending 25 grand at the Slam. Like, if he has a good back half of the year, he's going to rapidly climb up because he's not defending huge amounts of money, but it's spread across quite a few tournaments. And it's not big lumps all over the place. A decent Blackpool puts him in a huge position for the back end of the year to start really climbing up the order of merit.
Well, the other one as well, it's only 35 grand at the World Championships. With this new increased prize money, that could get blown out the water. He's only 6.5 at the Players' Championships, is the thing. So all of a sudden,
opportunities for him.
Oh, 100%. And then that becomes very interesting then that, let's be fair, Gary is very outspoken on everything. He just doesn't give a fuck. He's telling it how it is. He's openly criticised the PDC, and look, I'm surprised that he hasn't been asked about World Series events and so on. Clearly that they're like, we've moved on from Gary. We want to go in a younger direction. Look, would I still ask Gary to play in World Series events? 100%. But then all of a sudden, he comes back, giving it the old, hi guys, you got to talk to me now.
Yeah, especially if he bags that top 4 place. If he can get himself back up. Like we've said, how often have we said, well, it's every week, about the lack of consistency at the top end of this game and how these players can be got at. Like Michael Van Gerwen at world number 3. We spend most weeks talking about how Michael Van Gerwen's a mile away from where he should be and where his game is. Stephen Bunting sat in world number 4, who is struggling with form. Rob Cross in world number 5, struggling with form. Like, you look at these spots and think, it's perfectly reasonable to propose that Gary gets in the mix with what he's defending this year compared to what some of those guys are defending this year. And the way that they're playing, like, you would not bet against it, or I think you would be foolish to.
100% is the thing, and that he's just timing this to perfection, like only Gary can. And everyone says, "Oh, Gary Anderson, he'll retire at the end of this year. Oh, he doesn't care anymore. Wins a Euro Tour, wins a Pro Tour, does this, does that." The man is an enigma, because I've never seen anything like it in terms of he genuinely just plays when he wants to, does what he wants when he wants to. And like we say, he skipped the last couple of Euro Tours and so on. And I was like, could he win this weekend? Look, probably more hope than expectation. But then he smashes in the 110 average and he looks $1 million.
So when he's at it, it looks effortless, doesn't it? Because he doesn't look like, he never looks, when it's flowing really well, he just never looks anything other than fluid, does it? He just looks incredibly comfortable. The wish is just that we see it more regular, because we don't see it often enough. Like, we don't see that level from him as often as we should, in terms of because he's better. He's far better than a lot of the darts he produces regularly. And also, we don't see him at half the fucking tournaments either. So we certainly don't see it as often as we should or would like to. But I just think if he starts hammering the back end of the year, drags himself into the top 4, and you don't enjoy everything that then comes from that, you're probably not a darts fan.
The problem is, I actually think he'd genuinely get enjoyment of getting into the top 4 and saying, "Don't want your Premier League place." I genuinely think he'd get more enjoyment out of that than anything else.
5, because there are certain people he might not want to just hand a place to and hand all that money to. It could depend.
Honestly,
on who's
I genuinely think that he would get so much enjoyment out of that. See, I had dinner with him last year. I'm not named him. There's a story behind this. I'm just saying this for the sake of it. It was Leicester last year on one of the days off. We went for some lunch, and we were just talking and whatever. And because he never, when you ask him about his career, he always plays it down. He never bigs it up or anything like that. He always like pats it off. How we doing, Mark? Good to have you in, buddy. He always pats it off, and they're like, no. And I was like, surely a third world title would mean. So we were just chatting. He was like, and bearing in mind, there's no one else around, and he was like, the biggest thing about winning a third would be telling them to stick their Premier League up their arse. Not winning a third world title. I was just like, this is brilliant. That was his mentality.
Oh, what a guy.
It is the thing, and it was just like, and like, it would just be so good. Look,
but bollocks. Like, I'm not having that, and I can't subscribe to that because I want to have one more go of seeing Gary Anderson in the Premier League. This is like, I want one more chance. Like, see, Stevie, I'm going to see Stevie Wonder this year. I always assumed I'd had my last chance. I went to Hyde Park, and I thought, right, this is the, and I sold Mrs. S on. I know it's going to cost me a fortune. I'm going to book this hotel. I'm going to do this, but this will be the last chance I ever get to see him. So we're going all out, and he stitched me right up by coming back again. But like, I just want that. I want that experience, the darting equivalent. I want one last tour. I want Gary Anderson in the Premier League again, so that I can just have another go at going to loads of arenas and seeing Gary play in Premier League arenas one more time.
See, I think if the format was different, you could possibly talk him into it. If the format was different. But in this current format, I think I've got more chance of playing in the Premier League than him.
In the words of the $1 million man, Ted DiBiase,
everyone's got a price.
Everybody's got a price. I don't care. That people can tell me all they want that, like, oh, he doesn't need the money. Yeah, loads of people don't need a little bit extra money. Not many people say no to a fuckload extra money. Like, you know, I don't care how rich you are. Like, you don't get rich by saying no to opportunities to earn a shitload of cash. Everybody's got a price.
Look, chat room, would you like to see one last Gary Anderson run in the Premier League? Because I'm damn sure most of us would. Look, he is playing an absolute blinder, and we go back.
I'll tell you, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but you know, in terms of like how the difference it could make, regardless of the format, is Gary being in next year would genuinely make a difference to whether or not I went to certain Premier League nights. Like, I'd go to Leeds if Gary was playing. I wouldn't normally bother because I'd seen some of the others and picked it up. But I'd just see that as another opportunity to think, right, yeah, I can go watch it again. It would bring me to more events.
Littler versus Anderson in Glasgow. Could you imagine?
This is what I mean. Like, I think if you're not into that, you're probably not a darts fan. Like, if you don't want to see that, you probably don't really like darts very much. I don't know what you like if you're watching this.
Again, though, we've spoken about actions and actions breaking down quite a lot. We've seen we often say Littler fiddles with his action. He's got a couple of different grips. We've taught MVG's action apart. Nathan has spoken about his. Rob Cross's being off. Over the years, the Gary Anderson action has hardly changed. And we talk about like the Adrian Lewis, the Steve Beaton, the Rolls-Royce actions. But by the way, Gary's throw is so unique. Trying to throw a dart like him is hard work. But he's mastered it to a T, and it doesn't change.
Yeah, I mean, I know the biggest problem that I have playing darts is my grip. It's fucking shite. Like it's inconsistent, like really inconsistent. I could do with like a dart. Like I'm good. Well, I had an idea once, where if you ever learnt to play like the piano or the guitar, and it has like the people put stickers on, like this is exactly where you need to put your finger, like this is certain chords on a guitar, like you put little stickers on. I could do with that. I could do with darts with like this is where your thumb goes, dickhead. This is where this goes. This is where that goes. Because without that, I just won't like. Or the amount of times I go like that. What are you doing? Like why is everything's in the wrong position on it? I think Gary's it's one of those where it's difficult for other people to replicate.
Yeah.
But to him, it's natural. Like when he picks up a dart, the way he holds it, that's how his body, hands, everything else, like that's how his body tells him to hold it. Like I don't think he's sat and contrived like this will be my grip and I will develop it. And if I put my thumb here and I'll spend 6 months with, I think it's just that's what works for him. And he's stuck to it and gone with it. And I think that's the case for the likes of the Adrian Lewis's, the Steve Beatons, those that it's so fluid where they are very, very difficult to recreate because it's so natural, because it's not an overly taught, rigid action. It's and it hasn't been developed, through a coaching system or anything like. It's just that's how it feels. They're going in the right place. I'll carry on throwing them like this.
Yeah, it's mental. But look, the European Tour itself, Gary has entered the winners' circle, and we'll just go back up here and we'll change this in a second.
It was a really rogue back end as well, by the way.
Yeah, proper rogue.
Like the back end of that tournament was but especially because we'd give it a bit of stick the week before because the previous Euro Tour didn't have the big boys, let's say. It was missing some big names. So like when you get this one and you've got the vast majority of the Premier League players are in there, and you've got a lot of other of the top end players that have chosen to not skip it. The fact that the back end looked the way it did.
Yeah, look, 100%.
Unusual.
Look, there was some really, really good stuff, and there was some interesting stuff as well. Look, even at the top there, Richie Edhouse, at the moment, the defending European champion, there's a massive danger that he won't be able to defend his title because he's not qualified. He's struggling for a bit of form at the moment. Gabriel Clemens losing again. Johnny Clayton at the moment isn't in a spot. William O'Connor, look, Dirk's playing fabulously, as we know. Callum Ridge losing to Martin Schindler. Ryan Searle losing early again. There's players in danger from these European tours, and I get not everyone liked the change. However, what the change has done, it is now throwing up some brutal first round ties.
Oh, like naughty. Some of the nights not, and the second round ties are often carnage as well. Absolute carnage in the second round. If you're Stephen Bunting, struggling for form and coming in as a seed, meeting Cam Menzies in your first game is not exactly what you want. Same with Michael Van Gerwen coming up and getting bashed by Dirk van Dijvenbode, averaging over a ton, and it does throw up both the first round, but the second round especially, some absolute belting games.
Yeah, it was absolutely mad. Like you say, Cameron Menzies has played brilliantly. Again, beating Bunting, losing out to Peter Wright. Peter Wright sprung a dart change on us, and it worked. He got the first World Championship darts out the cupboard. We've not seen them for a while, but again, he played some lovely stuff. Johnny will be so disappointed that he found an 11 dart break to go 5-all, and then played like me in the decider, and so on. That there's so many dynamics to these European Tour events now where everyone means something. I get people skipping them, and the very elite ones can, but we criticised Michael Smith last week, and did he make the right decision? I think he was questioning it himself when he was 6-3. I'm sorry, he was 5-3 down to Daniel Closer in the first round, thinking, "What am I doing here? I'm 10 grand off the match play." Then all of a sudden, he gets to the quarterfinals, and he's had a great weekend.
Yeah, exactly, and it was a nice little smash and grab. That it's 6 grand on his ranking, a much needed 6 grand. And let's be honest, 6 grand that when he's having a look at that draw, and he knows that he's got to see, he knows he's got to play Connor Scott or Luke Humphreys. He's probably thinking, "Oh, it's going to be a tough day at the office." But yeah, working his way through to that quarter final is a really solid result. He's a strange one. Because I just said his name, and I was having a look about the effect that the Euro Tour had on the Order of Merit. How in the blue hell is Jim Williams still ranked above Connor Scott?
Because of the 2-year cycle where Connor hasn't had 2 years.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like that should be happening, though, does it?
No, I agree that
it just doesn't feel like how darts should be working at the minute.
Another one that, again, talk about taking your luck. Martin Lukeman originally wasn't in this tournament. He got the call up, as it's been said in the chat room, because Littler and Gurney didn't play. He gets the call up, and what a run he has getting to the quarterfinals. And again, he's now put himself in match play contention from a tournament he shouldn't have been in, and he played lovely.
And it is, and it's another 6 grand smash and grab, isn't it? He's gone in, he's played very, very well, and he's gone about it in the right way, because he needed that money, and there's not loads and loads of opportunities to get it, but he's managed to just settle things. I think he was up against it, and I think that it's a big lump. If you look at what on average he's picking up across the Pro Tour events, then that is it. Having 6 grand on top of that qualification. I'm not even calling it ranking money there. I'm calling it qualification money, because that's all it's about at this moment in time for Martin Lukeman. It's just about making sure that his name is in the draw when those big tournaments come around, and that is a big win, or a big few wins to stake his claim as to some of them.
Yeah, and another one that was on the slide was Andrew Gilding. But again, a huge weekend for him getting to the final has cemented his place in the match play, because he was heading the wrong way. He was on the slide. He'd gone down to about 15th, I think it was. But now that run to the final, yes, he got whitewashed in the final, but that's a huge, huge weekend for Goldfinger.
Yeah, really big. And he now, like you're right, he looks very, very settled right in the middle of that match play qualification. He was actually, Andrew Gilding, the star of my what is without doubt tweet of the week, which I'm going to have to credit Dan Dawson with. I don't know if you saw it, Phil, but Donald Trump tweeted a AI image of himself as the Pope.
I saw it, yes.
tweet of the week, without a shadow of a doubt. Like Andrew Gilding's and backed it up with a monster performance this weekend. No, he played very well. He sort of went about his business. It's a phrase that it makes it sound like he didn't play too well, but it was like it was professional performances, wasn't it? You know, he edged out Johnny Clayton. That was really impressive to get that win 6-5. The win against Noppert, probably the headline. You know, that is absolutely huge. As good as either player has played in some time, but yeah, just shy of 111 average for Andrew Gilding. He had a monster in that game, and then a lot of them, you know, just professional, just getting his business done. Without, I mean, 6-1 and 7-3 against Wright and Woodhouse. He didn't seem to play as well as those scorelines suggest, but hey, the game's about winning matches, and he's won quite a few of them on the spin there.
Yeah, it's been superb, and again another incredible Euro Tour event. The interesting bit was on Friday when we had to evacuate the hall because the fire alarm went off and everyone was evacuated. We had fire engines galore, and we had to have a 9-game evening session and so on. Who says live sport's not great? And so
it's got to be interesting. It's got to keep it interesting, hasn't it?
Yeah. I tell you what, our boy is in. Anthony.
All the way from Texas, which is where my T-shirt is from, actually. You might be familiar with Truth Barbecue. A restaurant fairly local to Anthony, I think. This one.
Yeah. I haven't heard yet, Mark, but I would be very, very surprised if the Premier League players were in. I'm guessing it's Hildesheim. I would be
stunned.
I would be surprised and questioning them as well. Obviously, we've been talking about it quite a lot. All right, I've got it up here, so I just need to switch it. So if I go that one there, the race for the Betfred World Match Play. Now, chat room and you, Dan, on the Pro Tour side, who is now safe? Who would you be comfortable saying they can book their accommodation in Blackpool in July?
Man, now, isn't it? Running out of time.
10 events.
Right, I appreciate this might be silly because they're on the same money. But I think one's playing a lot better than the other. Oh, fuck it. No. Jermaine Watermean is safe. Jermaine Watermean is definitely there. There's 3 spots. Maximum. Because what you need event wins at this point, like to jump that amount. Because you've got to do better in an event than. So Martin Lukeman has got to do better in an event than. Yeah, you can't have. He's not. Martin Lukeman isn't going to. And Christoph Ratajski, for example, like one of them might go and win something. That'll only, if they get up there, that might dispatch Ricardo Petrescu. If Michael Smith has a couple of runs because he can, then those combination of 2 things happening dispatches 2 people. You then need somebody else from that chasing pack to go very, very deep a couple of times and no one else to do anything. I don't think 3 get up. I think Jermaine Watermean is safe.
I actually tend to agree with you on that. That although Watermean's levels have dropped recently, that I don't see 3 people overtaking him or getting to him over those periods of time. So I think Watamina in 13th is safe, or will go to the match play. That figure might not be safe, but he's going to add to that in those 10 events as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think Watamina is okay. The other question, well, a couple of questions off of this as well, chat room. After the weekend, will Michael Smith make it? He has cut the gap to 3,000 ranking points. Will he make it?
I've got yes, but I've got yes, but right. Yes, but not at the expense of Ryan Joyce. If Michael Smith gets there, it's at the expense of Petresco or Barneveld, and not at the expense of Ryan Joyce.
I think he gets there. I do.
I think he will, but it's a yes, but.
Now, the other side, does Ross Smith become a seed? Because, again, he's doing okay at the moment. He's arguably playing better than Danny. Does he get into that 16th? And with this, the caveat, if you are 16th, you are going to run into the world number 1 in round 2. Would you prefer to take your chances in the open draw?
Yeah, 5th round the other side. Yeah, you're probably better off, aren't you? Law of averages gives you probably a better chance statistically of winning the games that you could have. I think he'll get there. I think he's playing better than Danny more consistently. You know, Danny produced a decent score the other day. It's the only thing I think I can remember him doing recently. Excuse me, I had to mute to sneeze there. I managed to bite the inside of my lip while I was doing it. Yeah, I think he gets there. I think he gets into 16th. I don't think it's the best thing for him though, but I think he will.
Look, Schindler is playing well, but the gap's bigger for Schindler. He'd probably have to win another Euro Tour to do that, or a Euro Tour final and a Pro Tour and so on. And a lot will come down to who goes to these Pro Tours and so on. But the World Match Play is really taking shape at the moment, and I look at some of the potential draws we could get. Now, there is some potential for some unbelievable ties. There is also some potential for some absolute stinkers. And what I mean by that is you're going to have the seed that isn't in form against one of the Pro Tour players that aren't in form either. We could get some really good ties. We could get some really one-sided ties. Or we could get ones where we just go, oh my word, what's going on here?
Correct.
Is the thing where if you look at this at the moment, say it finishes as it is, and we've got to do the draw, and you have Pietreczko against Chisnell. At the moment, Ryan Searle is massively struggling. Searle against Heta, who isn't, again, not playing particularly well. We know these guys have got immense amounts of quality, but at the moment, they're not playing well. So there's so many scenarios, but then flip the coin, we could have Van Veen Littler first round.
Oh, that's naughty.
That's what I mean.
It's mint, but it's naughty.
This is what I mean. We could have Cameron Menzies, Gary Anderson.
I mean, I don't dislike that. I watched that really up close UK Open last year.
Again, the jack in the box at the moment.
No, it's not good for the players. It's just good for me, selfishly.
We could have Dirk van Dijvenbode against Luke Humphreys.
Ooh, love it.
This is what I mean. There is some interesting scenarios or flip the coin again. We could have, in terms of this isn't in terms of thing, but just a pace of a game. We could have Danny Noppert against Ryan Joyce.
I mean, it's not.
I mean, now,
I wouldn't put that one on pay-per-view.
I'm calling that now. If that comes out, that's on the Sunday afternoon.
It's not. That's how. It's not gonna make pay-per-view. That one, is it?
That's the Sunday afternoon game. It's really interesting. It's got a flavour that is going to be interesting over these next 10 events. But overall, a really successful
dark match. I love that, James. They do that just to test out the cameras and the microphones and things.
Somewhat, I can't remember who it was. Here it is. Rob said, "Will Ryan Joyce go to some of these Euro tours?" I think he's going to have to, and whoever's advising him is going to have to advise him. Look, I fully appreciate that you don't like it, but you have to go.
Yeah, but there's other ways to get to Europe.
100%.
Like, I'm not being funny. Like, people were traveling across Europe for a lot, 2,000 years before we invented aeroplanes. Like, you can get to Europe. It's not too challenging. The Romans managed it. It's you can move where you like. Yeah, he'll be fine. But he does need to be there. He needs to be playing them.
Yeah, he hasn't got a choice. He's got to go. Just the way that
he's
looks.
Also he's really good in that format as well. Like he does, like it suits him to play like that in those environments. So yeah, yes, he has to be there, but they are and continue to prove quite fruitful for him. Yeah,
look, 100%. Not disagreeing there whatsoever. Challenge tour at the weekend. I didn't see a lot of it because obviously it was on the same time. I was trying to keep an eye on it. But one thing that I did like is Merv King winning on the challenge tour.
Yes. I should have put the Merv shirt on tonight. I went all American barbecue.
You can be one of the Norberts.
I should have put the Merv shirt on when I got out the shower tonight. I should have. He's bless him, he needs it, but he's done all right there. He's done well. Yeah, no,
he has. I agree, but then just looking at it, obviously, overall at the moment, Darius Labanauskas, Stefan Belmont are the top two. Ted Everts, number 3. Merv King, number 4. Bo slipped down to 5. Jack Tweddle, 6. Carl Sneed, 7. Danny Van Tripe, 8. Graham Hall, 9 at the moment.
It's stacked at the top end, in it, the prize money, like everything, So, there's a long way to go, though. A long way to go. I don't think the two at the top will be the two that get tour cards.
Interesting.
I don't think. I think there's. How many events have we got? We're not halfway through, are we?
No,
we only had 15.
Is Bo's dartitis a huge worry? I don't know. Is the honest thing. We've not seen her on TV to have a look how bad it is. Look, obviously, I know she said that she's been struggling, and I hope she can find a way through it because it's not nice. Yeah, there were promising signs at the weekend. I thought she played some really lovely stuff. Rob, I agree. 15 down, 9 left. So I think Labanauskas makes it.
No, I'm manifesting chaos. Neither of them do. Neither of them do.
It was announced that over last week that Bo is leaving 180 darts. She's going on to Pastures New.
Quite a nice message. I thought it was quite well written.
Yeah, I thought it was well worded as well.
Clearly, not ideal for any company that's aligned with a talent as special as Bo. Then having that separation is never going to be good. But yeah, I thought they handled it in a very classy way. Certainly, publicly in a very classic way. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree. Also, that there was some news coming out last week. I'm not going to dwell on it too much because this is the last one, and hopefully we don't hear any more of it. But Andy Jenkins, 11-year ban from the sport. Again, good. I'm glad
Should
the
have been
ban.
12.
I'm glad the ban's big, and I hope the last couple that have been huge bans sends out the message to anyone: don't be a fucking dick.
Yeah, should have been 12. I mean, I would, I'd put them on the bandstand in Billingham Town Centre and birch them like in the olden days with ne'er do wells. Yeah, it's scumbaggery of the highest order. And the problem is as well is bigger picture. What you do is you take these opportunities that have been created that people have worked very, very hard on. That create opportunities for dart players to earn a living. Like we talk a lot about how there's never been a better time to not have a tour card, and that's because there's lots of opportunities outside of the PDC. When people start to fuck around with those opportunities and take advantage of them and take the piss, then you run the risk and you roll the dice on those opportunities not being either not around anymore or not being as fruitful as they could be, in which case it's all of your colleagues, friends, associates, peers, fellow players, professionals, referees, commentators, everybody else. You put them all at risk.
Yeah, and I agree, Rob, as well. See that video, Smurf? Have a good one, buddy. Paul Lim winning on the Asian Tour. I know it was on the Asian Tour. It's something I would like to watch more of, but the timings just don't work.
Yeah, it's such a challenge. I am, like, you know me, like, and you know sort of what my life generally looks like. I am at capacity. I'm so far beyond capacity in most aspects of my life that, like, I get onto this stream at like 3 minutes to, and it takes everything that I have to stay up to speed with, like, the darts that are in front of me to embark upon additional, whilst I would love to, what I could do with somebody like sort of producing me like 30-minute highlight videos, that'd be amazing. If someone could undertake that task at the PDC, to just produce me some 30-minute highlight videos, to just see all the most important and special bits, that would be amazing.
Yeah,
Pretty fucking brilliant.
Paul Lim going to the World Cup again is always a good thing. That can never be played down.
Paul Lim on a PDC stage is surely what we all live for. That's what we want, isn't it? Everybody wants it. Again, if you're not into seeing Paul Lim on a PDC stage, you're probably not a darts fan. I'm sorry to tell you, but you probably this probably isn't the sport for you. You don't like it.
Man, we're going to go back to the Euro Tour, but we're not going to talk about darts. We're going to talk about a referee who has caught some headlines over the weekend. And first of all, what do you think of his manner of calling?
Do I think that it's? I think it's perfectly fine for the Euro Tour. I'm not sure it should blend into the rest of darts.
I think is it Franz? I think his name is. 2 seconds, and I'll tell you.
I think. Yeah. I mean, good, great, nice. I don't know if he's the the future of darts refereeing on. But the Euro Tour's a fucking arse about, isn't it? They were wearing lederhosen the other week. It don't matter.
Franz Enger.
Good on him.
Now, is it my cup of tea? No. But saying that, there are other referees that have refereed that I didn't particularly like their calls either. I'm not saying they're not bad. It's just a personal choice, like music, punditry, and commentators and so on. Some people like some people don't, and so on. It's very subjective. But obviously, Nathan's comment has been picked up that he says that he's not a fan and doesn't know if he could play if he was refereeing. Now, that's a different argument.
That's a different argument because we're talking about it from a entertainment point of view. That's I just think, well, and I think it's quite distracting. I'm fine with the Euro Tour because again, how can you say how can you say though that call's distracting? Whereas the week before you've got Kirk Bevins in Lederhosen. Like it's you have to, sometimes you have to like just go with it, don't you? And you think, oh well, if that's what we do here, if that's what this is the space in which we dick about, then you have to sort of put up with it a little bit. Do I think that that's what we should get everywhere else? Nah, no. Time and a place. But again, you can't say that's unreasonably distracting and then the week before put everyone in Lederhosen.
Yeah. It's interesting. Obviously, because I'm always streaming it, I don't have the sound on the Euro Tour very much, just if we're checking a shit walk-on or something like that for 5 or 6 seconds. What's the general consensus of a fan chat room? What are you saying? Do you like it? Do you not like it? And I suppose the other thing, what happens if he develops and carries on developing, and in terms of being a referee, develops into an incredible referee in terms of numbers,
all the other jobs,
age management, and so on? What happens if he ticks all those boxes?
I think there'll be some other referees that have their nose put out and join. If he starts getting, I think there'll be some pissed off. I think first and foremost there'll be some pissed off people if he starts getting jobs ahead of some of the other lads that feel they might be next in line. Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Like I say, I think that's a bigger conversation. Like the Euro Tour is the Euro Tour, and I'm not having it that you can point and say I find that distracting when the week before you've got to look at a lad like in fancy dress every time you're at the hockey. So I think, well, clearly that's the space in which we dick around with the refereeing. It's a concern if players start to say, I find this distracting. It's interfering with my ability to throw darts. I would probably think that is going to hold anybody back, regardless of how good they are at the other things. Because if the players at the very top end of the game, who, let's be honest, have more power than people perhaps think they should, in terms of the influence they're able to garner, especially if a few of them agreed, if an agreed consensus was put forward from the top players. It's fine for the Euro Tour.
Yeah, look, and I'm very much of if he's up to scratch and the PDC choose him to referee, I don't think players should have the authority to go, I can't play with him. It's like in football when Arsenal didn't want Mike Dean to referee their games. Grow up.
Yeah, I just there is always a risk within this sport that players at the top do get listened to and are able to influence things. Especially if it's more than one of them. Especially if it's 5 or 6 or 7 of them.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I know someone said about it because Dirk was telling him where to stand. And that bit I get because as a player, that when you're stood down the hockey, you just want to be able to look at the scoreboard to see what you've got. And he was literally stood centrally so Dirk couldn't see the scoreboard. Because Dirk got a lot of shit online for that. But I'm like, no, Dirk's got a right there that he should be able to see the scoreboard.
Oh, yeah, I think it's a fairly fundamental of the game that if you're playing the scoreboard.
Yeah, Dirk got a bit of shit for that. But I'm like, no, as a player, when he stood at the hockey, he should be able to see the scoreboard.
Correct. Yeah, that is fundamental. More so in darts than virtually any other sport.
Yeah, 100%. WDF announced that their weekend festival, whatever we're calling it, is back again in Hungary, including the World Masters.
Go on, say the thing.
The WDF World Masters is back on the calendar. For 2020.
On their website, it's listed as the Hungarian Masters.
So we've got the WDF World Darts Festival confirmed. So over the weekend, we've got multiple tournaments, including the WDF World Masters. Now, there's good and bad points to this, and I don't want to come across like a twat, but I'm going to say it anyway. That it's great that the Masters is still on the WDF calendar. That's great. My issue, again, I understand if the money's not there, it's hard to justify, but it's only 10,000 euros. Euros being the key here.
Yeah.
For the winner.
And 5 in a row. Two
very
for the semi-finalist.
Correct. Now, I get why they put it as a tournament or a weekend of darts. They put multiple tournaments on there so you can try and boost your earning capacity over the weekend, which is good. I don't dislike that. One thing I don't like is I think when the Masters is meant to be your second biggest tournament on the calendar, sharing it with tournaments not of the same caliber, does that distract from the Masters weekend on the WDF circuit? Because over that weekend you could have 4 different winners and the winner of the Masters then doesn't stand out. Do you know what I mean?
100%. I know it appeals to a huge amount of players from Europe, but like I've been to Hungary a few times, and it's not particularly accessible from the rest of Europe unless you want to fucking sail down the Danube. You can get you want to sail from Vienna down the Danube, then you can get into it fairly easily. But it's not particularly accessible. Like looking at the money, it works out. You pull the euros into pounds. A quarter final of their biggest tournament. If you quarter final the headline tournament, you've done 850 quid, which I think is like that's like your break even point. By the time you've like flown there, paid for hotels, fed yourself, travelled about, got all the other bits and pieces that you need, like you've got to go very, very, very deep in the flagship tournament.
Well, I'm just looking. So across the weekend, we've got the Hungarian Masters, the Hungarian Classic, the World Darts Festival pairs, World Darts Festival's mixed triples, the World Masters, the World Open, and the Lakeside Qualifier. Now, that's a lot of darts. So look, as a player, if you're going there for that weekend and you are playing in all those tournaments, fabulous. You get an absolute truckload of darts, which is brilliant. However, for the organisation, when you've got the Lakeside, then the Masters is the next flagship one under it, you're just getting jumbled into all those other winners across the weekend and nothing stands out.
But it's not that it's a week, and then they've got the round robin on the Wednesday, the knockouts on the Thursday. Then they've got a different tournament playing on the Friday, the World Open on the Friday, and then the Masters stage finals on the Saturday. It's Saturday to Saturday, or Saturday to the following Sunday. It's 8 days.
It's 8 days in relation to not a lot of money.
8 days is wild. And again, so the Monday there, you've got the World Darts Festival pairs, which pays to the to the highest you can, the highest there is the men's winner, which is 680 quid divided by 2 because it's pairs. So you get half of 680 quid if you win. Jesus, that's rough, that.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, if somebody wants to pay me to be there, I'll be there. But I think it is. I don't know. Maybe there are loads of people in Hungary that are itching to. Because even getting in and out, like if you decided, and we've seen players do it before, where they just want to go and play the World Masters, like they just want to play that because the lineage of that tournament, even though some people will no longer respect that lineage and say that that doesn't count. But even if you'd say, right, well, I subscribe to that, that means you've got to play on the Wednesday, the round robin, which means you've got to get there on the Tuesday, even if you don't play any of the events in the 4 days before. You're going to have to be there Tuesday to play the Wednesday round robin, Thursday World Masters, the knockouts. Friday, you're going to have the day off. Like, hit me up for tourist advice. I'm pretty good on Budapest. And then you're going to play the finals on the Saturday, travel home the Sunday.
Also, I've just double checked. The first weekend, the 25th.
No, what does it clash with?
And 26th clashes with a challenge tour.
Yeah, so what you get, you're going to get people, like I just said there, flying out on a Tuesday after the challenge, playing the challenge tour, flying out the Tuesday. But even if you fly the Tuesday, you need 5 nights. If you want to play just the World Masters, it's 5 nights. And flight times, if you fly direct, it's not too bad if you go from Luton, but if you fly from anywhere else other than Luton, then it's a ball ache.
So like you say, for the World Masters, you have to do a minimum 5 nights, and it's only €125 for getting to the last 64.
So if you get to the last day, what do we assume is 16 stage finals, last 16?
Quarterfinals, I think.
Do you reckon that's it? Do you reckon it's quarterfinals on the last day?
I don't know what it was this year, but my gut would be quarterfinals.
Which means if you are a female and you make it to the last day, go out in the quarterfinal, your 5-day minimum trip can earn you a maximum of 340 quid.
And also, they are the last block of challenge tours as well. So if you're in with a chance of winning a tour card and winning a place at the PDC World Championships, the Grand Slam, the UK Open for next year, you're going to be going to the Challenge Tour.
It just seems
bonkers.
It seems silly, and it seems I thought somebody surely has sat and worked all of this out, and at the end of it thought that's the answer. And maybe they're cleverer than me. Maybe it's me not being bright enough to figure it out. But I look at the 8-day, 10-night extra. I mean, if I had 10 nights free, would I be happy spending them in Budapest watching darts? Yes, 100%. If I was young, free, and single, without parental responsibilities, and had the annual leave in credit at work, I'd be there. I'd be there for the whole thing. because I absolutely love the place. It's a gorgeous city, and if I could sit there and watch darts, have a bit crack every day, I'd love it. But it'd be a holiday. I wouldn't be there thinking, shit, this is me living. I need to earn some money from playing darts.
Chris, I get you say why would they, but surely as an organisation, when there is a crossover of players, you'd give it a little look. The same as in the UK, is it England darts clashing with the ADC? You'd have a little look because you're after the same players.
Yeah, and everybody knows that what makes the event, what makes your event marketable
is having the best players there.
The standard of players that you can attract. Like, that is what makes your event marketable. So if you can get more top-end players at your event, that is automatically a more prestigious event. Automatically.
Chris, that argument doesn't stand up when the PDC calendar was released in September and the WDF one has just released theirs now. So that doesn't stand up, mate.
Yeah, the PDC, they share their calendar. Like, it's pretty clever, actually. You can sync it with the one on your phone. It's mega.
Yeah.
It just seems mad. Like, I love the concept. Like, there's a little bit of me, like the idiot inside me, thinks, oh, like 10 days of watching darts in Budapest. That's mint. But then the grown-up in me thinks, well, this cannot be. It cannot be the most efficient and best way of running the second most prestigious tournament that an organisation runs. It can't be. It just can't. Like, why have you got a day off in the middle? Why is the Friday off? I don't know why you have the Friday off to run. Like, I mean, is there some sort, is the World Open Silver ranked tournament somehow has a legacy of being played on a Friday and we have to interrupt the main tournament to play that on a Friday? It just doesn't make sense. Not to me, anyway.
To most people.
Whoever wrote it and come up with it, there is an open invitation to come and explain it to us all. Like, maybe we're all too thick, but there is an open invitation. Come and tell us why it's a mint idea.
Yeah, 100%. But it's like England darts clashing the event at Bridlington. Is it the British Classic or whatever it is, British Open? Clashes with one of the ADC ones. And again, the ADC date was already out.
Yeah,
the dates were out well in advance before they announced it.
You immediately limit, unless the intention is to do that, in which case, yeah, fine. If maybe I'm being naive, thinking that that's not what people are doing on purpose, and they're not like maybe they want to compete head to head, and they think that they can attract the bigger players to their organisation, or maybe they don't care. Maybe they don't care. But it seems like an unwise strategy to not look at what dart players might be doing that day when you want them to come and play your tournament. If I was to run a darts tournament or even an exhibition, if somebody said to me, book yourself an exhibition, Dan, the first thing I would do is look for a day where there wasn't lots of other darts on, in the hope that dart players would be available to come to my exhibition. That would be a start point. That's how I would begin.
Yeah, 100%. Chris, I think you're in the minority, especially in the UK, mate. And in that, I'll keep my mouth shut because, yeah, but the other ones do that as well. Right, shall we open up question time with 5 minutes to go? It's been a great show. Loved every minute of this.
Time. I must have been having fun. I've not been paying attention. It's nearly 10 o'clock.
100%.
Goodness me.
Yeah.
We've rattled through it, haven't we?
100%. So get your questions in. No, it's been good. Been a really good night. Oh no! But before we do that, we need to look ahead to Leeds. Let's go through where we think is going to win.
Oh shit! I bet we haven't done that, have we? Oh. Right.
So quarterfinals at Leeds are as follows: Rob Cross against Gerwin Price, Nathan Aspinall against Luke Littler, Michael Van Gerwen against Luke Humphreys, Stephen Bunting against Chris Doby. Cross Price, what are we going for first?
I fear that Rob Cross is gonna drip out of this Premier League with a whimper. Gerwin Price 6-3.
I agree. Gerwin Price 6-4. Aspinall against Littler. Now, look, you can't ignore the record. It is awful for Aspinall.
It's gonna keep getting worse. It can't get any worse, can it? Can for Nathan Aspinall. Luke Littler wins 6-4.
So I'm going 6-4 as well. Michael Van Gerwen against Luke Humphreys.
I think this is it's a very hard pick. This. Luke Humphreys, I say it all the time. He'd be pissed off. There's no way he should have got beat last week in the opening game, averaging 107.5. He managed to find a way to lose that. He'll come back angry, and Van Gerwen won't be able to keep the pace with him, but it'll be tight at 6-5.
I'm going 6-3 Luke Humphreys. And then Chris Doby against Stephen Bunting.
Doby. 6-4. 6-4.
I'm going Bunting 6-4. Who wins?
Decision.
Who wins?
Gezi Price.
Oh.
Yeah. I think Gezi Price beats Luke Humphreys in the final.
I'm going for the same final, actually, but I'm going the other way. I'm going Luke Humphreys beats Gerwin Price in the final. Chat room, what are you saying? So we've got time for a couple more. So just fire some questions in for us before we finish for the evening. It's been a wicked night. Enjoyed it as always.
It's flu.
Don't know who yet, but I am going to try and get a guest organised for next Monday.
Oh, mega!
Yeah,
that's exciting.
Yeah, it's on my list to do tomorrow. Is try and organise a.
Get into your Rolodex and find us someone to talk to.
Yeah.
How fun!
Yeah, I think I've got something on Friday. I can't remember what though. Anything interesting?
I'm busy all week. This is my birthday tomorrow.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think. Well, we've sort of had it today in the Simpson house a little bit because I won't work tomorrow. Like I'll have a suit and tie on by 6:30 in the morning, so I won't get to. Oh, the guitars come down on the regular, Scott. They just have a place up there because I was forever getting told off for having guitars later on. There's more laid on the floor down here. Like there's more. The bass guitar and there's a drum kit over there as well. They do hang up.
I could ask Matt, Johnny. Wayne, I don't think is doing much media outside of Sky commitments. Any big names joining the seniors tour? I don't know is the honest answer. I don't have a lot to do with it. Bob, hopefully, I've asked Nick Rolls and he said yes. I'm just waiting for him to confirm when he can do it. So look, I'd love to sit down with them and give them a platform as well to, because look, we say a lot of things and things like that, but
that is, yeah, we'd like to. We want to hear back from them. We want to hear what the thinking is and the decisions are behind it, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of birthday love for Dad in the chat room.
Yeah, I feel like I'm. I don't feel like I'm getting older this year. I feel good. I'm approaching this birthday with a very open mind. I've been in the gym this morning. I'm feeling young and youthful and healthy. It's good.
I didn't watch any of the Super Series today.
Ditto.
But look, Richie Burnett is always a plus.
Yeah, it's good. Again, it's just nice. It's good for darts. Richie being anywhere watchable because he's a very watchable player.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Did you see that? Thoughts on Scott Williams' fine, Dan?
Is this the fine for the? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, rules are rules, aren't they? Like, rules are rules.
It's a bit steep.
But it's difficult because, again, like, you want characters in the game. Like we talked about it we've gone full circle right to the very beginning of the show. Like, we want characters in the game. We want people that create controversy, creates cash. Like, we want people to create stories that are picked up and written about in the wider media. That puts more eyes on the sport, good, bad, or indifferent. I don't know. I think it's tough. Like, the rules are the rules, and I am a bit of a stickler for, like, if you know what the fucking rules are and you break the rules, then you get what's coming to you. But then what I don't like is sometimes there is this, like, sort of big grey area where people can decide what that fine would be and how much it should be, and then I don't know how much consistency there is, when players are fined as to whether or not different players maybe get treated slightly different to others.
If there was a fixed fine tariff, then fine. But the fact that fines...
and that's the thing. That's the problem.
The fact that fines vary, I'm not keen on.
No, I don't like the idea.
If there was a fine tariff, then I'm good with that. But
100%. And I'd also tariff it based on, and people might not agree with this, based on where you do it as well. Like, if you do something like that on a Pro Tour stream, it's very different to doing it at the World Championship stage when all the eyes of the world.
World Championship finals.
I'm 100%. I think you have to not just tariff, like, what the action, what the act is, but also the context that the act is in. Because what you'd say then is, you say, well, you're bringing the sport into disrepute. Well, are you doing it to the 7 people that are watching the Asian tour online?
Yeah.
Or are the eyes of the world doing it while you're covered in all the headline sponsors and everything else? So I don't like the fact that when we find somebody, there's an unidentified group of men in grey suits. Fuck off, these blokes aren't wearing suits. They sit around the table and decide how much we're going to fine somebody. I think a standardised tariff would be far more fair. But you break the rules. At the minute, there isn't a fine tariff. So if you break the rules, you leave yourself wide open to the powers that be to shaft you. So the easy way to not fall foul of that system is to not break the rules, I'm afraid.
And it is CDC weekend, and don't worry, next week we will bring you all the reaction from the first CDC tour weekend.
Yes.
I'm sure it's in Niagara Falls. Will be good.
Always in places I want to go. Every time, like, they never just, and I think sometimes, like, they ever consider, they look at the Pro Tour events over here and go, fucking, like, Barnsley, Milton Keynes, and then you look over there, you think, well, we're going to Las Vegas, we're going to Los Angeles, we've got Niagara Falls, we're in New York. It's a far more glamorous list of geographical locations, isn't it?
What's wrong with Sindelfingen,
I'll
Göttingen, Riesa?
Yeah, exactly. It's a far more prestigious geographical list. Is that CDC tour over there? I need to get myself a little trip. I think over there to take some of it in. I need to. Never mind the trip to Barnsley. I think we need some CDC action in the flesh.
Everyone, what a live lounge it has been. Thank you very, very much. Like I said, we will try and get a guest on next week, so stay tuned for that. Plenty of information coming out this week. The live lounge live. Me and Dan are staying on for about 10 minutes afterwards just to tie things up. So that information will be out this week as well. Of course, this will be available as an audio only in the morning. Matt Porter is also available as an audio if you want to catch up with that. I uploaded that this afternoon. So thank you very much as always. But we have been Online Darts. It's been a pleasure keeping you company on this Monday bank holiday. If you haven't yet, make sure you smash that subscribe button for us. But I've been Phil Bars, Dan Simpson. We are signing out and we will see you next week.